Chris, guess what day it
What's up,
is?
Jay? It's you know what? It's Friday this time, like for
It's
real. Not
Friday.
even pretend
Yes,
Friday.
I know.
It's real. It's real Friday.
Really Friday.
Um, really Friday. It's good to
Hope
see
you
you.
had
I
a great holiday weekend.
I did. I did. We can talk about it more in a little while.
You
Welcome
got it.
everyone who's not familiar. This is On the Rocks, the show where we talk about accounting related stuff, mostly as it relates to e-commerce, but not only. I am Chris. He is Jay, and we're your hosts for today. Last time we talked, so last week, it wasn't on Friday, it was on Thursday, but we talked about products, people, and swag, and all the stuff we saw and loved from ZeroCon. We talked through the conversations that we had, some of the neat features and functions that some of the products that are out there people are working on, and all of the cool stuff they're doing. We talked about giraffes and blocks, and I think we may have talked about skunks. And all the other cool swag from ZeroCon. This week, Jay and I are getting ready to head to CampA2X over the weekend, and it reminded us of how valuable and important community can be. And so we wanted to talk just a little bit about accounting communities, communities in general, and provide some feedback on why they're so important, how and why you should join one, where you should join one, which ones we're a part of, and give you some good stories and interesting summaries around community, or at least that's going to be the intention. We'll see how that conversation goes. But first, since we talked last, what's happened? What's in the news? I saw a few accounting related updates this week. There were lots of surveys. It's another down time of year. I think there wasn't anything in big news, but there were some survey releases. And so the AICPA did one of these. They had a survey, and they talked to leaders of CPA firms, and they saw something that was a little sad, in that there's a continued downward trend in optimism for the global economy from these different leaders. They reached a high point back in 2021, and they've kind of been like dripping and slowly getting worse and worse. But some good news to draw from that survey is that these CPA leaders still expect some profit growth and general revenue growth. So it's not that bad, but it does look like there's continuing downward pressure to where we're headed here. I don't know exactly what's driving that, but I think we've all kind of talked about it a lot in episodes prior. Like there's lots of anytime you have some inflationary pressures and all the things that go along with that, you start to see a little bit of tightening. And I think that the CPA people, accounting people, are typically the first ones to notice that, and so they're going to be a good resource to see what's coming. And so I don't know how frequently they do this survey, but I'm hopeful that the next time that they see it, maybe we'll be heading back in the other direction. Jay, do you have any thoughts about optimism and
So,
the future?
yeah. So I'm curious when this survey was done because
Mm.
last week, the not Treasury Secretary, the Chairman of the Fed said we
Mm.
should expect a rate decrease here shortly.
Ooh.
So that should maybe turn some of that optimism around, because if the rates are dropping, that
Yeah.
means we're seeing some price correction,
Right.
and things should be moving in the right direction. So hopefully that's going to be a great indicator of what's to come. But I mean, ultimately, we've been talking about this for months now under
Yeah.
different circumstances. We have an election coming up in 60 some odd days.
Yep.
That's gonna
Lots.
make a big difference to
Lots of
the way
uncertainty.
things move forward. So
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's probably like almost exactly 60 days, Jay. I think the election day is the 5th of November, if I remember right. So
and
that might be.
we are always talking about having that material from the debates, and
Yeah.
I don't believe either of us are going to be able to watch that debate next week live. I know
No,
you'll probably be traveling,
I think so.
and I will
Because it's
be
on Thursday, right? I don't actually
yeah,
even know when it
it's on
is.
Tuesday.
Oh, it's on Tuesday. So yeah,
It's
but
on
I will be
Tuesday.
traveling.
Yeah,
I'm
and
traveling
I
on
will
Tuesday
be
too.
with my CampA2X friends, networking
Yeah.
about e-commerce and inventory. So,
Yeah, there you go.
we have
So
important things
maybe
to talk about.
yours will be a more interesting conversation than maybe what comes out of the debate, but we'll see how that shakes out for sure. Um, one other thing that I read on the Journal of Accountancy's website, there was a little blog post around how CPAs may have unique opportunities to support ESG initiatives. Now, obviously, when you think about ESG, at least me, when I think about ESG, I think about big public companies and all of the different things that they're doing because they have these reporting requirements around ESG. But what this report pointed out is that some of those reporting requirements are going to start to have these bigger companies ask for extra information from the companies that they're buying from. And so some of the CPAs or accountants for smaller companies may have some compliance that they need to help with to make sure that these bigger companies are compliant overall. And so there may be some opportunity in this space, even if you wouldn't typically think, oh, ESG, like, yeah, I'm out on that. Like, there may be some opportunity for you to be a valuable resource to your different clients related to environmental stuff. That was what this article specifically pointed out, was greenhouse gas emissions issues. But there may be a lot of opportunities for accountants to be aware of this. One other thing that I'd want to point out here, especially if e-commerce people are listening, like that may mean that some of your clients are going to start to request that kind of stuff from you. And so you may want to be aware of some of those ESG rules, especially if you have customers that are a big chunk. If you're not a D2C type person, if you're a B2B, you may want to be aware of some of the requirements that are coming down for your partners on the business side. Jay, what do
So,
you have
Chris,
thoughts on ESG?
real quickly, for those that don't know, what is ESG?
ESG is as an acronym, obviously, or whatever you call it when they're letter. But it talks about environmental, that's the E, social, that's the S, and governance, like the board of directors and that type of thing, which is the G. So ESG are factors related to how your company is impacting the environment, how your company is impacting the like social spaces. So what the thing I think about most typically around social is like DEI initiatives and supporting diversity and all of that. And then of course governance is like, is your board of directors full of a bunch of like hooligans, or are they like upstanding citizens? So those three things are things that companies are required to like provide some insight on, and so because of that, the amount of insight that they're providing, I think, is increasing some. I think the SEC is starting to ask for a little bit more information, and so that may have a downward trickle to everybody about how that impacts. And then Jay, to your point before, like depending on the results of our upcoming presidential election, some of those requirements may change significantly, or become even steeper potentially. Like I guess
Right.
it depends on what happens there, right? So,
Yeah.
so depending on some results, maybe this is a completely moot conversation. We'll see how that goes.
But looking at that from a very high level, and you talked about tracking on the environmental aspect of it, a lot of
Right,
companies are tracking their carbon footprint,
right,
and they're working, they're planting trees for every
yeah,
$100,000 made or something like that. They're doing that
yeah.
in the effort to do that. So somebody's got to be tracking that and putting that on the board report so the board can be tracking it and reporting it.
That's right.
So it's really important to do it. And you
Yeah,
mentioned the DEI from the social aspect, and I did see that accountants want more interaction when it comes to DEI initiatives as
yeah,
well. So
good.
it's making our industry and our peers into much more than just bean counters. We're
Right, yeah.
being good for the environment, we're being good for business, and we're being good for our peers.
Yeah, right, exactly. We're just partners, right? And so instead of being
Exactly.
just an accountant, like you're a partner now, right? That's everyone is shooting in the same direction, right? That's the idea. So yeah, I'll be interested to see how that does impact accounting firms like ours, because there definitely will be opportunity there to assist. And if you are the person who becomes skilled in this, like it may give you an opportunity to build a pipeline that you may never even have thought about before. Um, so think about it. In a different area of accounting, the good people at the FASB have started the process of issuing a new ruling related to expense disclosures, which was exciting for me as a former auditor, but also like terrifying for me as a former auditor. Because these expense disclosures, what they're going to ask you to do is to provide a little bit more detail as it comes to the nature and some tabular formatting and whatnot of your expenses. So again, as an advisor, it's going to be an important thing to be aware of. Like someone's going to start looking at this kind of thing, certainly for public companies. And so if you're assisting companies that have an interest in a future IPO of some nature, you're going to need to know like kind of what's going on here. So those new issues, they're not going to be effective until 2027. So there's some time before even public companies are actually going to have to issue them. But it just is going to attempt to provide additional clarity as to like what types of expenses are happening and what they mean and how they impact the company. So be on the lookout for a slightly tailored expense summary within financial statements in 2027. So years from now. But there will be some early adopters, I'm sure, and especially if it's something that they either are already kind of doing anyway or can do really easily. I'd expect lots of early adopters. That there's a lot of value in tailoring down and providing extra insight into what's going on from an expense perspective. On the IRS side, I think we may have even talked about this, but right there in IRS News, so on their newsletter page, they highlighted that they've had $1.3 billion recovered from high income, high wealth folks under their new Inflation Reduction Act initiatives. So those things are working. Like I said, I think that number was already common knowledge, but for whatever reason, it was just published on the newsletter this week. But it worth
put press out for that. I mean, they got to keep some pressure on to keep that funding, because not only is it for initiatives to collect this low hanging fruit, because that's what it is. They filed, they just haven't paid. So let's collect that, but let's also continue with all those technology enhancements that we've been talking about. So let's keep that funding going to the IRS.
Yep, absolutely. But that was all the IRS news. Like I said, everyone must be like back to school or something. Not that much in the news space from the IRS or from the accounting space. There were a couple tech related items that I wanted to like highlight and bring up this week and the research that I did. Capgemini research, who I don't know anything about them. I don't know whether they're reputable or not, and I don't even know if that's how you say their name. But they not surprisingly did some research that indicates that organizations that utilize data-driven info are more profitable. Who could have seen that coming? Database decision making, super critical. This particular entity actually used this concept of a data master to be a person who was well adept to identifying and utilizing data, and highlighted a whole lot of different areas that these types of people are more profitable, more functional, more efficient throughout the different components of business. So the article was talking about how valuable it can be to be a data master. And so I do think like Jay, as we were talking before we went live here, who could have imagined that data-driven insights would make you more profitable?
Exactly.
Who would have ever thought? Basically everybody, right? And so the more data that you have, and we've talked about this since I think episode 1 of this show, the more data that you have, the more quality that data is, the better advice you can give, because it allows for better decision making. And so shockingly, that's true, according to this research. So it just lines right up what we've been saying all along, Jay. Better data, higher quality data, getting it and utilizing it properly, very valuable for you as both an accountant and a business owner.
Now, the concept of a data master, think of somebody that understands the data and
Mm-hmm.
They can mine it and give you the information relatively easily, but they're going to be there and they're going to be able to spot those anomalies faster.
True.
So it's going to help you be much more proactive in your business.
Yep.
So you can start seeing trends sooner because they're watching that data and they're able to see it. These are things that we try to do with our clients is set up
Absolutely.
dashboards and visuals so they can see that ahead of time, so they can react and take care of whether it is slipping traffic or a increase in their cost, your client acquisition costs. I was going to use an acronym. I'm trying not to. So things like that. It's all things that you can be reviewing on an ongoing basis, proactively instead of reactively. So it's better to see it today and fix it this afternoon than see it 6 weeks from now and then try to fix it when you're right in the middle of it. So
Yep.
it's
Or
same
it's
thing that
gotten even
we
worse,
try to
right?
do. Right, exactly.
Yep. Absolutely. Using data, super critical. Big fan. I do it all the time. A couple super interesting like AI related items I also read about as I was researching for the show today. The first one is Red 101, which is a company I had not ever heard of before. They're going live this fall with an AI powered open commerce idea for the concept is for business to business entities. And I don't know exactly how the AI idea works, but it allows for easier finding of resources between these B2B entities. It helps you to facilitate that marketplace, and it helps to target certain people for you and help you to connect to the right sets of people. So it seems like a very very interesting utilization again of AI, in being able to both target and market to people more effectively, which I think is really a big deal. Marketplace already had several thousand, I think, certainly several thousand products, if not several thousand users. It's been live in Africa and I believe in Europe previously. So it's not a completely new concept. It's not going to come in and just be like, what is this first user ever? They're just coming to the U.S. this fall. So um, anytime there's AI in the news, I think that's fun, because I do think that there are so many implications and applications of using technology to help streamline kind of some of the stuff that takes a long time or kind of sucks for businesses now. So glad to see this. In a very similar move, Alibaba, who, if you're not familiar with who Alibaba is, they're basically the Amazon of China. They own, I think, two of the biggest marketplaces within China. They are launching a AI sourcing agent, that's literally called AI sourcing agent, which is just kind of funny. That's very very blunt. That's going to help to do the same thing that Red 101 is going to do. They're actually very comparable sounding in that it's going to take global suppliers and product searches and just help make them more effective and efficient. So you get you to people easier. They're also including some new AI business to business tools, again, just like Red 101, to increase exposure in specific targeted markets. So I thought that was an interesting application of AI as well, because if you're starting to introduce AI into the algorithms, which I'm sure they're already kind of in there already, but if you're doing that in a more tailored and more powerful way, you're really going to spotlight potentially the things that these businesses are needing, and help them source both their suppliers, so find the best partner for them, and the people with capacity, which I thought was one of the most interesting outputs of this, is that the product is intended to be able to identify areas where there's capacity in the marketplace to provide the product that you're looking for, whether that's just finding the right supplier, or if there are several suppliers that give you the same type of thing, finding the one that has the ability to give it to you in a certain period of time or time window or whatnot. So interesting set of tools there from Chinese Amazon. So it'll be fun to see what comes out of that, and whether there's some application or installation of a similar product here in the United States from one of our big tech giants. So, Jay, any thoughts on B2B AI?
No, I just want to see it. I want to play
Yep,
with it.
right.
Yeah,
Feels right. Yep, I
I
agree
want
with
to
that. In
build
the
an automation around it.
right, yeah, use it. I want to use it.
Yes.
Uh, in the e-commerce space, I read an article that Walmart, our large retail giant, is tackling a new strategy. They've attempted to start helping sellers fulfill orders from third-party e-commerce sites. Does that sound familiar, Jay? Um,
Yeah.
this sounds like a new product offering called Freight by Walmart, FBW. So it does. I think it was actually intended to directly compete with Amazon in this space.
Yeah, it's
And
actually
so,
coined WFS,
oh, excuse me, I didn't
Walmart
realize it had
Fulfillment
a name.
Services. Yes.
There you go. Yeah, there you go. Well, Walmart fulfillment services. And so they switched it up a little bit, but Walmart, they're trying to tap into Amazon's market space there in the fulfillment space. So,
Well,
we'll
go back a few weeks ago from our conversation regarding using
yeah,
third-party logistics warehouses. I
yeah,
mean, that's what Amazon is. I mean, they're their own channel and marketplace, but they
hmm
will fulfill your orders that are coming off of Shopify or other platforms.
right,
Same now with Walmart starting in September. Well,
yeah,
starting next week.
yeah, right. Starting now, almost, yeah, next week.
Starting
So
yesterday. Yeah.
So there, anytime a big player like that comes into a space, I think that is good, because that means that there's some competition that's going to start happening. That means that maybe some of the pricing is going to start being depressed a little, because instead of there being one big winner, there's maybe now two, a little oligopoly action or something like that, where you have choices, and anytime you introduce choice, you can start to see some depression in pricing. And so actually, I think that, like, sure, whatever Walmart is, whatever they are, but I think this is great, because it gives you another option, and it allows you as the business owner to make a decision that makes the most sense for you. So it will be a thing to definitely watch and look out for. And if you're using a third party fulfillment service, like, this is one to explore. You want to make sure that you're aware of the pricing aspects of it and how it can impact you. So know that it's out there, and make sure that you're exploring it. If nothing else, maybe it won't be successful, but FBA certainly has been. So I bet there's some opportunity. One other thing in the e-commerce space, related specifically to shipping as well, is USPS. They unfortunately are going to bring back surcharges during the holiday period. They kind of stopped doing that, I think, since COVID time. But this year they're bringing it back. So if you're going to ship stuff through USPS around the holiday times, you're going to have to pay a little bit more. So I think it's really, really relevant, obviously, to e-commerce businesses, because and certainly D2C businesses, because that's where you're going to sell your products. So be aware of that, and again, do some exploration of your different pricing options through different partners around, because those surcharges, I'm sure, they'll cut into your margins, and you don't want to do that. So check your choices. Make sure that you're working with a partner who's evaluating all of the different options, so that you're not just always using USPS, and be aware that that's happening. And also know too that there's talking about slowing deliveries to certain areas. This is it's really to areas that are well outside of the main post office hubs, so kind of some rural areas, at least according to the article I was reading. So know that if you've got customers in remote type places, that it may take a little longer to get products to them. So be aware of that as well, especially if you utilize USPS a lot.
And that's
Any
harder
thoughts on that, Jay?
for e-commerce sellers to
Hmm.
be very cautious of that, because there's an expectation of when their shipments are going to be received.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't want to have a holiday gift get caught up in a delay in shipping due
Right.
to the IRS throttling back. I mean, that postal service
USPS.
throttling
Yeah.
back.
Right.
So it might even if it might be $1 more, it still might be $1 might be better spent to make sure that package gets there in 2 days versus 5. Just
Right.
you got to look at that from that 360 view.
Yeah. And so that's definitely something to be aware of. Again, this isn't a thing that they'd really done in a while. So I expect that to have a pretty big impact. I don't know how much more the surcharges are going to be. I don't know if we're talking like a nickel or something, or if we're talking like a substantial one. But be aware that it's happening, and also be aware of those more remote areas and how that might impact your customers. Exactly like Jay was talking about. Take that 360 view of, does it make more sense to pay a little bit more to get it there on time? What else, Jay? Any news that we haven't talked about that you've seen this week that was interesting or on your mind?
Not really. I have not paid a lot of attention to news this week.
Yeah, it's been a busy week with the
It's been a
holiday.
busy week, with the holiday, and then knowing we're going to be out next week for 3 days. We have a tax deadline coming up next week. Want to make sure everything is handled before we walk out the door.
Yep, totally understand that. Feel that very, very personally. Jay, with the news gone, what's in that guy? Coffee, late night coffee, afternoon coffee here? Yeah.
Yes, I was feeling a little dip there about an hour ago, and it made half the pot, and I'm second cup through it.
There you go. Nice. It is my favorite time of the year. It is Oktoberfest time. This one is from Four Corners here out of DFW. Second one also an Oktoberfest because it is that time of year. From 903 also here in DFW. So when I went to the grocery and saw them put out the 6-packs of Oktoberfest, excitement so high. Love Oktoberfest. Marzens are my favorite, and so I said, all right, I'll try this one. Just took all the singles for all the different Oktoberfest varieties. So enjoying those, and we'll enjoy them. Favorite beer. So on to our topic point. Obviously, like I mentioned in the intro here, Jay and I are heading to the Toronto area over the weekend, and then for the early part of next week as well, to spend time with a community of e-commerce accountants like ourselves, to talk to them about A2X and e-commerce platforms and partners and all of those types of things, and also to I don't know a better word for it, but to fellowship about e-commerce accounting, right? To talk about things that are impacting us, to talk about things that are impacting our businesses, and just to make sure we have we're going to be able to swap ideas and swap thoughts and swap understandings. And so it's a very special community, and it's one that I've been able to be at least kind of active in since the time that we went last year, and have been able to connect and learn different things about the products that they are offering and the services that they're offering, and what kind of struggles they're running into, and all of those different types of things. And so Jay and I thought it would be a good idea today to talk also about just communities more broadly. And so Jay, I'm going to start by asking you, when community is a very broad term, but what does that mean to you?
Well, for me, it's being around like-minded professionals where we get to talk and not necessarily geek out, but we get into these topics, and not only do we dig in deep on these work topics, but then we get to play hard. And a lot of these people are, we've gotten very close with them, and we build relationships. And I was chatting on Slack with a buddy of mine who's asking me some questions about how would I do this with this Shopify client. And I threw him back, a couple ideas, and he's like, "Oh man, it's going to be great to sit around and talk Shopify with a bunch of experts next week." That's what it's about, because these are the people that we learn from. We get to share our best practices, and then I tell it to you, you shoot it down, you tell me yours. I'm like, all right, what? Let's put some of that together, and build a process together, and do that. So. That's that's what it's about, and,
Yeah.
ZeroCon is my people. CampA2X is my people, accounting
Yeah.
salon, and a lot of those people overlap.
Yeah. Well, yeah, of course. And that, and I think it's always interesting to like, especially for me, because my background is different than a lot of people that own their own accounting firms that do accounting this way, right? Because not, not everybody spent whatever 10 years in audit, right? A lot of people have been doing this for a long time or got there like you did, Jay, right? Like you were doing something and then you're like, actually, you know what? This kind of makes more sense for me. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and so I have such a good time like learning from people because they're going to have perspectives that just aren't they're just going to be different than mine, because the background that they have is different than what mine was. And then I also find that like um, a lot of obviously I've been with High Rock now for almost 3 years, but like a lot of folks have been doing this for a lot longer, and so they have a lot more experience and a lot more expertise because of that, right? They know very very well um, the products that they're utilizing and why they're utilizing them, and so it makes for such a good opportunity to be able to ask questions. And anytime that you bring all of those people together, just like ZeroCon or like CampA2X, like it makes for a perfect opportunity to just be able to ask, like, hey, I'm doing this. Like, I don't know whether that's the right thing, but this is what I like to do. And in fact, at ZeroCon, I went to dinner with the folks at A2X, and we actually talked a little bit about that because they're especially in the accounting and bookkeeping space, right? Like that advisory level work is the like layer that can be the most profitable for you typically, but it can be really really difficult to retain and retain talent or even get talent that can do that. And so a lot of firms don't even try. And so we talked a little bit at a dinner that I was at about like how do you manage that, or what kind of what kind of salary decisions are you making? Like, what are you doing there? Like, what do these people want, and what do they need? Um, and so it doesn't just revolve around like your workflows. It revolves around your whole entire business practice,
For sure.
um, because you can ask all of those different questions. And in fact, I'm really excited for this week because one of the things that we will be talking through actually is a full consideration of a workflow, and it may be a best way to do it. So it is, and I think this is the reason why A2X is doing this, right? They want to get the people together with the knowledge and information that can allow them to execute the best product that they can, and then also to identify areas where they may be able to make a better product or improve on products that already kind of exist. So um, I think that's the biggest thing that I would say about community is that like when they're the people just like your family, right? Like when you think about community locally, like your neighbors and whatnot, they're the people that you rely on. They're the people that you go to when you I don't know, you need someone to watch your child, or you need a cup of sugar or whatever, whatever that might be, right? Like when you have questions or you have challenges, like they're the people that you can go to use as resources, because you trust them. And I think that's one of the biggest things around community as well. And so, Jay, you've talked a little bit about the Zero community. You talked about this A2X community. You talked about Accounting Salon. Are there other communities that you think that you feel like, yeah, those are my people. That is my community.
Yeah, well, I mean, getting out of the accounting space, the NASCAR
Sure.
community,
There you
I
go.
have my little close knit, community here
Yeah.
of my buddies. But overall, you go to the racetrack and everybody, everybody's got a different driver they're pulling for, but everybody
Yeah.
wants the same thing. We want
Yeah.
to see.
Green
I'm
flag the
never
whole
going to
way.
say this. No, we don't want to see the green flag the whole way. And we know with 5 laps to go, we're going to have a caution, and it's going to lead to 5 more cautions. But
That's right.
it's what it's about, and you
Right.
just get excited together about it. And
Yeah.
you pull for your driver, but at the end, y'all walk away happy.
Yeah.
Unless
Absolutely.
Denny Hamlin wins and he beats your favorite driver, so that's a whole other story.
that's less happy. Yeah. Obviously, Obviously, I'm still building my networks. Is the way that I feel about this, right? Um, I feel very well connected to tax Twitter because that's where I first met accounting related people that were willing to socialize. A lot of the people that I had worked with before were just associated with the companies that we worked for, right? Um, and I and it wasn't until I met some folks through tax Twitter where I was like, oh, okay, there are accountants that are willing to like be on social media and talk about social media stuff and had different thoughts about the way that things could happen, right? Like you weren't stuck in the old way of the way we're doing this way because that's the way you do it. Um, and so for me, that's my biggest space, at least right now, right? I love interacting with people online, and my communities all seem a lot smaller, Jay. Like the NASCAR community seems gigantic, right? I guess I'm part of a fantasy football community
Well, there
in
you go.
that,
Yeah, of
like,
course.
yeah, and that I love listening to podcasts about fantasy football. I got a family league, but I've got four others as well. So I have five fantasy football leagues. Most people probably have maybe one, so I'm a little bit more ingrained in that space, I suppose. Um, and then I've got little local communities, right? Like there's the parents of all the kids in the neighborhood. There's a wine
Yeah.
club here in our neighborhood that I feel like is a community that I like to see those people, and I like to learn about them, and what brought them to our community, and what they enjoy, right? And so when I think about community, that is exactly what I think about is the people you like to spend time with. And so, Jay, I think your NASCAR community is a good reference point for that. And then I think you described too, like what you get out of community. Like I think you did a really good job of highlighting like you get a shared experience, and you get a shared set of resources, and you get a shared set of knowledge and information. Like we've talked about that a little bit. Community can be so valuable because you can just Slack someone to ask a question about, hey,
Yeah.
I'm doing this in Shopify, but it's not really giving me what I want. What thoughts do you have on that, or how do you feel about it? Like, what are you doing when you run into this type of situation, or your guy in the infield, right? Ooh, that can't believe he was able to make that. What do you even talk about in the infield? That's a great pass.
Yeah.
Can't
Great
believe he
pass.
dodged. I can't believe he made it through that wreckage or something like that. Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's lots of cool,
Can't believe
lots
he
of things
made
to
it
talk
through
about.
with those tires on that car like that.
Well, yeah. There you go. Yeah. Can't believe he stayed out so long. Didn't pay the price, whatever it might be. Right. Um, the utilizing community kind of like can really truly like change your career. And truly that's like my background story, right? I met High Rock through community, right? Through tax Twitter, through like a group that I was a part of, right? I never even thought about it previously, and so it can really open your eyes to a lot of things that you've not really thought about before. Do you have any favorite community stories, Jay? Like any like you've already shared a few good ones, but do you have any like where man, this is just it's a story that I keep thinking back on of community.
Well, another community that I am kind of disassociated from now is the dance community,
Oh
where
yeah,
because my
sure.
daughter, I'm still going for coffee with a couple of my prop dad buddies there, but
Yeah.
we're kind of divorced out of that now, and it's like okay, am I missing something? Yeah, not really, but when you're there, you're commiserating with each other because it's this
Right.
hurry up and wait mentality. And it's like, okay, what are you doing to, take up all this time that we're sitting here waiting? We have
Yeah.
30 kids with 60 dances, but there's 560 dances in a weekend. That's a lot of downtime. And, there could be anywhere from an hour, 5 minutes to, it could be back to back or 5 minutes or an hour, 3 hours between dances. We don't know until we get the schedule. So there's a
Yeah.
lot of downtime, and it's like we got to figure that out because they are really long days. So some of the things that we've done in the past are pretty fun. Not going to get
Oh
into
yeah.
that, but
not
yeah,
not
maybe
show
some
appropriate, maybe.
no, no, definitely not.
Uh,
So, but one of my favorite moments though is at Accounting Salon a couple years ago. They're doing an icebreaker, and we have uh, the sponsors are involved, and we're kind of playing Team Pictionary. And we were the last team to go, and somebody just draws an outline of a plane, and I said pilot, and it's like 9 seconds, one, and it's like it was just
wow,
amazing. It was fun.
that is
It's like
great.
you must have cheated, and the ribbing that goes on at these things, and you're
Uh-huh.
with your friends, it's like you must have cheated. You had to know. How would I know? They just
We're
saw the paper over there. I had no clue what that was.
Hey, we're all friends here, Jay. Did you cheat? No.
Nope.
No.
Just start throwing
Just knew
words
it.
out that related
There
to
you
an
go.
airplane.
There you go. Nice. Nice. I will forever not be able to live down my CampA2X story from last year. I have two separate community related stories related to CampA2X. The first one is that my flight getting there was terrible, and that's not a community story at all, but it is a story. But the second was that first evening, I met Jamie McDonald, and I did not know who he was. Um, and so I talked to him the same way that I talk to lots of people. I asked a little bit about him, asked him like, yeah, hey, what do you do? He said, I build teams. I was like, all right, yeah, all right, that's kind of fun. Like, what, what kind of title does that mean? And he's like, CEO. to to which I just about died. Um, uh, but I will never forget that experience, right? Because that's kind of the thing that community brings out of you, right? You get these opportunities to interact with people in a very like human way, and you get to learn things you maybe should have already known. Um, but it is a story that I will never forget. Um, and I know that at CampA2X last year, I had a lot of those kinds of check-ins and meetings, right? So lots of fun stories, and so because of that, I am very 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 much looking forward to next week, and can't wait to see all the campers again, because I know it's going to be great conversation. I know that they've got a couple of special guests that I'm really looking forward to hearing them talk both about marketing, which I think Jay both of us like really like the ideas of that, and want to work to make sure that we're executing those, both for ourselves and for High Rock. And then like I mentioned already, Brittany's conversation around workflowing, which I think is going to be a really, really interesting conversation, which will be great to hear experts talk about the things that they're experts in. So I definitely am looking forward to those things. Is there anything in particular you're looking forward to over the next few days,
Well,
Jay?
in addition to what you just hit,
Yep.
there are also going to be other kind of smaller workshops. We're broken
Yep.
out at tables, and we're thrown topics, and
Yeah.
there's 7, 8 people around a table, and they strategically look at who is at those tables, and
That's it's
you
Jeff's
know
community story.
that's Jeff's story there, but they actually put people with different perspectives there, and you start going through it and building a solution. So it's a lot of fun doing that, and even if it's something
Yeah.
you're not comfortable with, you're there and you engage, and nobody thinks it's stupid. I mean,
No, you never would.
that's what community is about, is taking those ideas, and maybe it sounds stupid now, but when you've come through it full circle, damn, that was genius. You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. Well, again, it's
So
like you learn those tips and tricks that you maybe didn't think about,
yeah,
because you didn't think about it that way. Like
Right.
everybody has their
Exactly.
own viewpoint and perspective, right? Like, and so
Most definitely.
being able to be I've always thought that the more perspectives that you can get, like maybe you'll disagree and be like, no, I like mine better, but the more perspectives that you can get, the better opportunity you have to be able to identify the right one, or the one
For
that's going to
sure.
work the best. So, and so I think that that's probably the best and biggest takeaway from being engaged in a community, right? Is that you can identify different perspectives that allow you to become a better version of yourself and to
For
allow
sure.
your company to become a better version of itself. So
Exactly.
join communities, be active in them, and have a good time talking to people, meeting people, and asking questions of people. I think they're that's definitely the fantastic takeaway advice from this week. Jay, as it comes to community, do you have any other thoughts or any other conversations that you want to have around there?
Uh, I just want to say embrace it. Go out
Yeah,
there and meet new people, get new perspectives because the world changes a lot faster out in the world than it does in the box here that we're sitting in.
sure.
And you know, uh, I made that leap back in 2012 when I started using Zero, and people are like, "What are you using?" And it's like, "No, this is the next greatest thing." And that community has just been great for me for sure. I mean,
Right.
it brought me and Liz together, which brought me to High Rock. So I mean,
There
that's
you
how
go.
community
Community.
works.
That's how it works.
Yeah,
That's how it works. Brings people together. I think that's
for
another
sure.
good takeaway too, right? It will get you connected to the people that are your people. Um,
Yeah.
so big fan of that. Jay, outside of camp, what else you got going on? Any weekend plans before you get up there, or
No,
anything
this is
anything else next
this is
week
like
outside of tax
the
deadline?
this is the first weekend I am either here or have nothing to do. And well, I mean, I'm flying out Sunday, but
In like 20
just
years?
trying to uh, chill and recoup.
Yeah, yeah. Is this the first weekend without the little one? Like
Yeah,
real?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh man, way to put some travel right on the back end of that.
Oh, well, for sure. Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, we figured that trip last week. Didn't really think that she was going to want to, you know,
Yeah.
come up
Be with
there.
parents. Yeah, sure.
But her roommate went home for one reason or another. She's like, yeah. But
Yeah, what am
the
I
other
just
thing of it was they were doing a road trip from school to Disney. She's like, I don't need to go to
mm,
Disney. So she came up and, yeah, we talked, about last week we talked about going kayaking and, it was my
did you flip
first
the boat?
time. It was successful.
You did not flip the
I,
boat.
I, I did not, I almost did.
Yeah.
Yeah, not that I was trying to, although the slightest movement, sent that thing rocking. But I
Yeah,
did
sure.
hit some rocks and get probably sitting at a 45-degree angle.
Ooh,
Had to figure out how to get
risky.
myself out of there. Yeah, it was interesting, but yeah, I got in and out fine, and it was a long trip for a first time. It
Oh
was
yeah,
supposed
I
to be
bet.
4 hours, it ended up being 5 because the river was so low. So it was
Oof.
a long day, and then the
Yeah.
next day we ended up driving up to Virginia. We not far from the Virginia line where we stayed, but
Yeah.
there's a town called Damascus, Virginia,
Sure.
and there's a Virginia Creeper Trail, and it is a converted railroad line
Oh.
that they
Yeah.
turned into a bike trail. And this portion of it was 17 miles, and 80% of it was downhill.
Well, that sounds great. Except for the
Yeah,
coming back part.
well, there was no coming back. They drove us
Well, that's
all.
great.
Yeah,
Hmm.
they you got in a
Oh, they pick you
van.
up at the bottom.
They gave you a bike. They took you up, and you come on down that hill.
Oh, that's
And it
lovely.
was fun. It was serene and beautiful, and part of it was right next to a river that was coming down, so you heard the river. You got the
Okay,
There
yeah.
were places where there were steps down into it, just you and yourself with nature. It was beautiful.
Oh, I love it. That's another kind of community, right? Being part of the
For sure.
nature community.
Yeah.
Um, big win that. Um, well, I love to hear that. I'm so excited that you got to do that. I love getting outside and being as active as I can be. I have a silly question for you, Jay. Are you? I know it's been several days now, but are you still sore
I'm not.
from the kayaking? And no, that's
No.
good. Good. Good.
No.
Good. Yeah,
Yeah. Recovered
got
well.
a I did a workout with my wife the other day that I'm still a little sore from right now. It makes me feel like I'm getting older. Not a big fan of
Mm-hmm.
that. Not a big fan of that at all. Um, this weekend, obviously, I'm traveling on Sunday as well, same as you. Um, but tonight, I'm going to go babysit my nephews. So I'm pretty excited to hang
Nice.
out with those little guys. My brother's two sons, who are getting to be like 10 and 8 or something like that now, 9 and 7, something like that. I guess I should probably figure that out. Um, Probably should figure that out, getting grief. But I'm sure we're going to play with Hot Wheels. Maybe we'll get some Mario in. Maybe we'll try and do a puzzle or something. I don't know exactly what the plan is. Not really babysitted kids that much. So this will be an exciting adventure for Uncle
Yeah.
Chris. So we'll see what the output of that is.
That sounds like
But
a
it should
lot
be
of
a good
fun.
time. And then obviously next week, the beginning part of the week, will be hanging out with folks in Toronto. I'm so excited to see Jeff and the A2X team, and then see all the people that we talked to last year. I know that not everybody that was there last year is going to be back, and I think Patty's not going to be there, which is a little sad. I really enjoyed chatting with Patty,
Yeah.
but I'm really
Scott will be
excited
there though.
I'm really excited to get in some ping pong again. I played ping pong with I think it was Dan's kids,
Mm-hmm.
so uh, that should be a fun time. I'm really looking forward to it. I've been looking forward to it for like a whole year. Um, I'm disappointed that I have to leave a little early, but I'm doing some traveling myself for personal reasons. We're going to a wedding the following weekend. Up in the Rhode Island area, and so I don't think we're going to be coming to you on Friday next week because I will be in Rhode Island somewhere. Um, but uh, but but we will definitely see how that goes, and I'm really excited for that area because there's so much nature stuff to do. So should be lots and lots and lots of fun. Um, Looking forward to all that travel, and then in a couple weeks from now, Jay, we're going to be back together again, like we didn't
Mm-hmm.
see enough between ZeroCon a couple weeks ago, CampA2X this week, but in another 2 weeks after that, we'll be together again in Phoenix, and we'll get to find the origin of On the Rocks. We'll get to get back to
Yes.
it, to where the idea came from, where those conversations around accounting
And we
and
will
late night just
definitely
about
have
stuff
some bonus episodes that week.
we had better. So we'll catch back up for anything that we missed this
Yes.
next week or the week following,
Most definitely.
when we're there in Phoenix. So
Oh yeah,
so
because the following week, the week before that, I'm going to be at Bristol, so I don't know if I can do this
oh
while
yeah,
we're at the racetrack. So yeah, we might have
well
a
I'll
small
still
hiatus
be
here.
traveling
So
too. I'll
yep,
be in the Northeast for
yep,
a weekend a little bit. So
yeah,
we will,
awesome.
loyal listeners out there, we will see you again eventually, but it will not be at Friday on our regular time for the next couple weeks, I think. But we will catch back up with you and do our best to give you all kinds of excitement the week that we're in Phoenix, and then we'll be back on our schedule after that. So thank you all for watching and listening to us today. Be on the lookout for any other news that comes down. I know that like Jay mentioned, next week we've got a presidential debate. There will probably be some tax considerations to take out of that. So we'll look forward to talking about that the next time that we talk. And then find a community, be a part of a community, ask your questions of a community. It is a great way to enrich yourself, your firm, your company, and those around you. So that'd be my parting thoughts.
There you
Have a
go.
great weekend. Good to talk to you, Jay. We'll see you
Same
in the
here.
next
Have a
one.
great weekend, everybody. See you,
Bye,
Chris.
everyone.